like, what's your creative process been like? I mean, how do you come up with ideas for content? Like you mentioned, like you do all these informative stuff and everything. So how do you research and how do you come up with like, hey, let's go to this place and let's do this thing because I know there is.
Hmm.
What's your
Hmm.
process like?
So I'm a major planner when it comes to content in general, and I think again that comes from working in spaces like LinkedIn and Bain, where nothing goes away without an
Yeah.
approval and a plan.
Yes.
So even for me, it's very difficult for me to work without a plan, even when it comes to my content. So if I'm going to a certain destination, firstly the destination is decided basis what exactly it is that I want to do there. And I
Mhm.
mean, to be honest, I've been to what 12 countries, and I know that is also a big number, but there are still so many more places to
Yeah.
explore, and each country is massive. So
Yeah.
it's like the world's your oyster, right? So
Yeah.
that there's never a dearth of deciding which place to go to. But
Mhm.
I think what to do in terms of content for each place, my first creative process comes from the audience itself. So
Mhm.
I try to think, as a viewer, if I am going to a place, like, because by the end of the day, every time I travel, I am a customer or a viewer myself
Yeah.
of the location, right? So I myself think that, okay, if I'm going here, what are the things that I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the currency. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about what are the best places I should do.
Yeah.
If I have 10 days, how do I plan it? If I have 20 days, how do I
Mhm.
plan it? So those are the first. I think that's the first step in that direction of thinking
Yeah.
about what all do I need to provide. Then going beyond what I think, I try to take in inputs from my audience. Like, Instagram is a great
Uh,
space to have interaction with
yeah.
your audience, putting a Q&A sticker. And that also kind of opens my eyes to things that I sometimes take for granted because I have traveled a lot.
Uh-huh.
So, there are some things that I just think, हाँ, सबको पता होगा, but it's not
सबको नहीं
common
पता.
knowledge.
हाँ. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get questions from there. I kind of take them, see how I can use them, and put them across in more of like an informative video.
Mhm.
And then lastly, I think I just sit down with each location that I'm kind of planning to go to
Mhm.
and try to ideate in terms of how it looks. What's the information that I can provide? I'm someone who loves and enjoys doing transitions. I think it's a great way to
Yeah.
captivate people's attentions
Uh-huh.
and also provide information, though I
Yeah.
try to slip in on my own. But at least to grab the attention, it's a good way. So I try to ideate around that, and then I
Uh-huh.
create a very fancy Excel sheet to do all of this, which I
Wow.
share with my team. And then
Yeah.
that's kind of how the creative process before going works. And just like any plan, only probably 40% of it gets executed,
Yeah.
but I go with 100%.
Love that. I mean,
Yes,
that's how it is, right? You can only expect about 40% to work, or like say even like 40 is also a
honestly.
very big number, to be honest. Yeah, because you're traveling and then there are so many external factors as well. I really liked your very recent video also, like about you went and asked people like what they think about India.
Hmm.
That was great. Like I mean, that's very catchy. Like everybody be like people love to know this. I don't know why. There's this. Everybody wants to know what foreigners think about India, right? Like I mean, like what is this thing? These foreigner people react to this Indian series or this Indian
Yeah,
this that
yeah,
trailer and
yeah.
stuff. So yeah,
I think it's just like I personally loved making that, and I myself was curious to know because I think the same goes for people who come, say for example, when they come to India because they're just curious to see how other people relate to
even
their
I
own
no,
lives.
I love
Yeah,
that as well because I
yeah,
sit and I watch Jabi Koe
yeah,
reacting to Indian teasers. So I mean, I'm a consumer of such content as
yeah,
well. That's why I'm saying that.
yeah. It's just I
Yeah.
don't know why our brain works like that. I think
I
it's just
know.
about when we have something like I know how I don't know something tastes, and now I want to see how other people are going to react to it,
Yeah.
and that is very interesting to watch. So I think
Yeah,
that's super cool.
totally. So, okay, next thing. What goes into a perfect video? You said you've begun editing, you've like upskilled in that. Like, so what goes into a perfect video?
Wow, good question.
Yeah.
Um, I would say I mean, I guess we're talking about Instagram here, right? So,
Yeah.
in terms of I would say short form and long form, again, very two different
Mhm.
ball games. Long form,
Yeah.
I'm still figuring out, so I'm not there yet. But I would say for short form, I think what goes into making a video is number one, I think focusing on how you can captivate an
Mhm.
attention span that doesn't last beyond 2 to 3 seconds
Yeah.
at this point. is very important. Second is creating content that you want to consume is very important. I think if I make content, I don't think anything that I've ever made that I personally would not consume has worked. I have made these things though, if
Yeah.
I'm being very honest, where I'm just like, okay, you know what, Instagram's pushing this kind of content.
Yeah.
I might not like it, but let me just make it.
Yeah.
As long until you don't understand or consume the content that you're making,
Uh-huh.
you won't be able to produce the best level of quality. So I
Yeah.
think thinking about that, and number three, always having, and this is something that I used to say when I used to work at LinkedIn as well, is always having a very strong call to action at the
Uh-huh.
end or the beginning of your video. Because
Yeah.
as much as you think just putting like, oh guys, share this, or like follow if you like it, won't work, it really does, because it's a small nudge in
Yeah.
that direction for anyone
Yeah.
who's thinking about it, but it's a nudge, a subconscious nudge that really helps. So I think framing your video in a way which starts with a strong hook, keeps people captivates their attention in the first 2 to 3 seconds, and then
Yeah.
ending with a strong call to action is like a perfect recipe for your video. उसके बीच में तुम जो करना है करो, but beginning and end ठीक होना चाहिए.
Okay,
So
I'm
yeah.
going to steal this up here. I'm going to ask my video editor to watch this part specifically. I'm like, dude, whatever you do, even if you don't watch the full podcast, watch this part.
Yes.